Hello and welcome to this year's preseason podcast. This is 2055's version. This year, we're going to be splitting up each conference into different segments to make it easier to record for all of our podcasters. This year, we're going to be starting with the Big Ten, and our host for the Big Ten is Coach Rich. Coach Rich, take it away from here.
Yeah, hi guys, this is Coach Rich here, head coach of Ohio State. I'm taking over Big Ten, and we'll be talking about the Conference USA. So for the Big Ten, there is 6 teams in the top 25, with Northwestern at number 2, Michigan at number 4, and number 5, Wisconsin. And then Ohio State at 11, Michigan State at 13, and then you have Utah State at 16. Which, with 6 teams in the top 25, I would say the Big Ten is the best conference in the nation. And then with that, you also have 3 teams in the top 5. Like I said, Northwestern, Michigan, and Wisconsin. I have 6 tiers for the Big Ten. In tier 1, I have Northwestern alone, just on how talented they are. And then in tier 2, I have Michigan, Wisconsin, and then I have Ohio State on the borderline of 2 and 3. But in tier 3, I have Utah State, Michigan State, and then tier 4, Indiana in their own tier. And then tier 5, I have Purdue, Minnesota, and Illinois. And then tier 6, finishing it out, I have Penn State and Pittsburgh. I'm going to take a little deep dive into each of the top 25 teams, just going over 3 of their best players and how they are and what their real life comp is, comparison. I'm going to start with Northwestern, where their quarterback, Antoine Cox, he is a 6'5", 228 pound quarterback. Pretty great size. He has low 60s vision and accuracy of 55 and power. In his real life comparison, I put him with CJ Stroud. Most of us watched CJ Stroud in real life, of how accurate he is, and the size is very comparable. Pretty much any coach's wet dream, really, just the size and his actual true ability. So Antoine Cox there. And then number 2, I got their running back, Clarence Brantley. He was a true freshman last year. He actually was nominated for the Freshman of the Year. I think he came in second place. But he had 1,425 rushing yards and 20 rushing touchdowns, which is insane for a freshman. We just got to see if he can follow up with the sophomore year. He is incredibly fast, with a speed at 79 and very elusive, with a 69 rating, which is pretty nice, and great and pretty good ball security at 53. And he does have the ability to catch in the backfield. I put his real life comparison with Adrian Peterson. Adrian Peterson was a monster out there in the NFL, with just his speed and elusiveness. And then finishing up with Northwestern, I have their super senior wide receiver, Jesse Young. Jesse Young had an incredible offseason, took a huge jump, increasing his talent by 18 points. Once again, he is just a speedy wide receiver with 85 speed, and route running is at a 98, pretty good hands at an 81. I put his real life comparison being a taller Jalen Waddle, with incredible Waddle has great speed, great ability to route run, and pretty good hands. Now we go to Michigan, to where we start off with Lucifer Pierce, their running back. who has pretty good speed. It's not gonna set at 65, and then he has pretty good elusiveness at a 93. Pretty good hands and great ball security. I put his real life comp at being a Maurice Jones-Drew type of player. Very short, but very fat, pretty fast, and very elusive. And then we go to Greg Smith. He is their. Sorry. This thing froze on me. But we got to go to Greg Smith, their wide receiver. And just like Jesse Young, he took a pretty huge jump for his sophomore year. Coming and forward to increasing his talent by 17. He has pretty good speed, but his route running and hands are in the high 80s. To where I kind of put him with a comparison with Devontae Adams. And then to finish off with Michigan, I went to Jordan Dennis, their cornerback, who's going to be a junior this year. Pretty decent size for a cornerback, 6'1", 171, long and lanky arms. Pretty much good speed at an 85. And when you combine that with his pass coverage at an 82, I think that's just going to be any coach's dream to have as a cornerback. Just a cookie cutter cornerback that anybody wants. Real life comp, pretty much just a white Jalen Ramsey, just with the speed and his ability to cover. So we go to Wisconsin.
I love how you pronounce that, Wisconsin.
And the first one I want to highlight is Ashton Williams. Ashton Williams, he was redshirted last year, but he increased. He's a super senior, 6'3", 232 pounds. I would say pretty average size, but still pretty good size for a quarterback. Nothing to worry about. But his quarterback stats are pretty balanced to where they're either high 60s or low 60. And I put his real life comp at a Joe Burrow. Really nice player, somebody you can rely on, and to be able to lead your team to wherever you need to go. Then we go to Deepak Adhikari. Deepak has pretty good speed at a 79. He's a running back for Wisconsin. And then he has incredible ball security, so he's not going to fumble the ball a lot of times, and great elusiveness. I put his real life comp comparison at a Kenneth Walker III from the Seahawks. And then to finish off Wisconsin, Wesley Hall. Wesley Hall is their offensive lineman, 6'4", 336 pounds. I'll say ideally on the shorter side of the offensive line, but I personally like taller offensive linemen, real life wise. But good size with that 336. He's able to move quick with this 35 speed. His biggest highlight for him or attribute is his strength. His strength's at a 100, and then his run block and pass block are very balanced out. Run block's at a 69, pass block's at a 73. His real life comp I put for a Trent Williams. And then we go to Ohio State. Ohio State, I start off with Michael Day. Michael Day is their wide receiver 1. He is 5'10", 203 pounds, and he is on the shorter side, but he has decent speed, incredible hands, and route running abilities. And I put his real life comp as a Cooper Kupp type of player. Someone's not going to wow you with the speed, but he's going to wow you with the ability to catch and the ability to route run. He fun fact, he does have the ability to pass cover. He's actually has a pass coverage of a 66. So we'll notate that. And then we go to the cornerback, to Luke Ramsey. Luke Ramsey is on the lower end of speed in the cornerback zone at a 69, but but he makes it up with his pass coverage at 100, which is pretty insane. And I put his real life comp at a certain. I just think they're a very comparable player. And then we go to the offensive line for the third player, Colin Brown. Colin Brown is a 6'2", 323 pounds. Like I said before, 6'2" on the lower end up on the offensive line, but that's okay. He does bring it up with his strength at 100. Run block and pass block are at a lower 70, which you mix up with that size. Combining all three makes him a pretty good player. He is a inside guy, so his real life comp is going to be Quentin Nelson. And then after that, we go to Utah State, to where we start off with their guy, Jeremy Jones. And Jeremy Jones is their cornerback, and he has pretty good speed coming out of Florida, pretty good speed at 84. Pass coverage is pretty much there, pretty good speed. Pass coverage at a 74. And I put his real life comp at a Jalen Johnson. And then we go to Michael Koger. Koger is their second cornerback with incredible speed, elite speed attribute at a 96. But he covers it up with pass coverage at a 62. Would ideally like to see something higher, but he matches up with his speed to cover that up. His real life comp I put at a Tariq Woolen. And then to finish off the Utah State, we go to Trevor George. And Trevor George is their wide receiver 1 at the moment. He is 6'3", 235 pounds. So pretty big, bulky guy with good speed as well, 76, and good route running in hands. Pretty well balanced fellow there. His real life comp was an AJ Brown type player. And then we finish off the comparison with Michigan State. Michigan State go to Isaac Smith. Isaac Smith is their wide receiver 1, coming out with 68 speed, high 70s route running in hands, 6'1". His real life comp was a pre-CTE Antonio Brown. And then we go to Brett Long. Brett Long is Michigan State's defensive lineman with pretty good strength at 79. These pretty good size at 6'3", 270. Pretty good speed at 50. And can pass coverage at a 44. But his pass rush and run stopping at a 68 and 72. I put his real life comp at Leonard Williams. And to finish off the Michigan State, we go to Ryan Garcia. Ryan Garcia is their offensive lineman, who is 6'4", 343. His strength is pretty good, high up there at an 81. His run blocking is at a 78. Pass block is at a 62. I put his real life comp at a Taylor Decker. So for the guys in the Big Ten on the top 25, there's a lot of competition for them. I can see this conference eating each other, but at the same time, I do see about 2 or 3 teams making it into the playoffs. For the Big Ten division winners, I see the leaders. It's going to either be OSU, Michigan, or Michigan State. I will slightly lean towards Michigan, just because the players that Michigan has. I think they just outweigh what Michigan State can do against Michigan. And then Ohio State versus Michigan. I lean Michigan just because Ohio State does have, I would say, like a blind spot. They haven't beaten Michigan in a long time, so I'll give the edge to Michigan there. On the legend side, it comes down to, of course, Northwestern, Utah State, and Wisconsin. And I heavily lean Northwestern. Um, with Northwestern, they just have an amazing team. They have the only hole I see in Northwestern's game is their offensive line, but really that gets cut. That's not a big worry as they do have a really good quarterback in Cox. Clarence Bentley coming into his sophomore year, and their wide receiver Jesse Young. Their defense is insane. Their front seven is probably the best in the league. And then with that front seven, they do back it up in their defensive backs to where I could see Northwestern having the best defensive team in the league. So I will bring it to Secret. Secret, what do you think of these Big Ten teams?
Well, I disagree on who I think is going to win one of the divisions. I personally think that Wisconsin could upset Northwestern and take the division. And as you said, one of my main points there is very clear the O line. Northwestern's O line is thin. It has really good top end O line. Like they have that one really good offensive lineman, but they don't have the depth needed to really push through the division. In my opinion, I think that with Wisconsin, with a better O line and a great quarterback and some amazingly fast receivers, could easily take the division if they aren't looking. Like they're gonna overlook Wisconsin. They're gonna think, oh, Northwestern's been to the national title so many times. Wisconsin hasn't been great recently, but the way that Wisconsin has developed, I truly believe that they could take this division and surprise some people.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Would you say what your Wisconsin's going to be like your dark horse pick?
Absolutely. I think Wisconsin would be the dark horse pick for the Big Ten. I honestly prefer Wisconsin over anyone in the leaders division, personally.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Go ahead.
The winner of the Legends would be my favorite to win the conference.
Yeah, I mean, I would definitely agree Wisconsin being a dark horse. I do see Utah State in there, but my biggest thing with Utah State is just their schedule. Their schedule is not really deep compared to the other Big Ten teams. So if they do lose one or two, I do believe they will fall down the rankings just because of how bad their schedule is. But teams like Wisconsin and Ohio State, they actually face 6 top 25 teams. So, I mean, it is a gauntlet, but I do believe Wisconsin also does have a team that will be able to pass up and defeat this gauntlet they have of a schedule. Quick honorable mentions in the Big Ten. I didn't really mention through that breakdown. Illinois, led by Coach Farias Barrett, tied second in the Big Ten or actually I think they're tied first or second, the youngest teams in the Big Ten with Ohio State. So in the next coming years, Illinois is going to rise up in the ranks here, and they're going to be making a name for themselves. Right now, they do have a heavy depth in the trenches and a nice duo wide receiver of Dalton Ivy and Daniel Anuwasor. And then also Purdue, a quiet riser for Coach Angel, led by the quarterback out of South Korea. And then also a nice trio of veteran wide receivers and some good defensive linemen. Getting into the Conference USA, just a quick breakdown for them. They have 2 teams in the top 25. It's going to be Navy and Wyoming. 1 team in the top 5, which is just Navy. And once again, I have 5 tiers for Conference USA. I have Navy and Wyoming in tier 1, North Dakota State in Tier 2. Tier 3, I got 3 teams there: North Carolina State, South Dakota State, and Louisiana Tech. Tier 4, I got Rice, Southern Mississippi, and BYU. And finishing it out for Tier 5, I have North Texas, North Texas and FAU. Actually, BYU should be in the Tier 5. The quick breakdown of all the teams that are coached. I have Navy first up. Navy is actually the 6th ranked team preseason, and their biggest attribute that came in from the transfer portal is Navy Pittman, coming from Ohio State, transferred to the Navy, 6'1", and incredibly fast as well, with 71 speed, 85 hands, route running is a 78. And I had a real life player comp of Terry McLaurin for him. And as well, I did look at Zach Harris. Zach Harris is our defensive lineman, who is 6'1", 242, on the shorter side, but I mean, he definitely mixed up with his skill ability, with a strength of 100, which is pretty insane. And then his pass rush and run stopping is over in the high 80s. I had a player comp for him of Hassan Reddick. And then I go to Wyoming, who was ranked 9 in the preseason. In Wyoming, I looked at his wide receiver, Nick Moore. I have him. He's at a 6'1", 228. His speed's at a 71. Route running's at an 88, which is pretty elite, and his hands are 76, which is pretty good. I had a player come for him of Brian Thomas Jr. And then his offensive lineman, Jamal Thomas. Jamal Thomas comes out 6'4", 329. Pretty good height. 6'4", that's it's average height, I would say. Strength at an 89. Run block at a 72, which is pretty good, but his pass blocking is at a 97, which is insane. He had an incredible offseason as his talent increased by 26 points. And then I put his player comp at a Tristan Wirfs. And then we look at North Dakota State. North Dakota State, give me a second here. North Dakota State. I was looking at his quarterback, Alex Wilson. Pretty good quarterback there. Who has kind of crazy passing abilities, but he is pretty fast at a 52. Pretty good elusiveness, so he is a dual threat quarterback. His vision is pretty high up there at a 73. His power is up there at an 80. And the accuracy is at a 27, which kind of hurts him a lot. I honestly didn't have a real life comparison for him because I mean the attributes of him are pretty insane to me. He does have pretty good pass coverage at a 54 and a tackling at 33, so he does have the potential to go both ways if needed. And then he actually does have some pass blocking at a 42. So, I mean, it'll be fun to see what the North Dakota State coach can come up with throughout the playbook. And then we go and look at his wide receiver one, Carson Nash. Carson Nash had a really great offseason. He's standing at 6'2", 226, pretty good size for a wide receiver. Speed is at a 54, which is okay, which is pretty average, I would say. But he mixed up with his hands and his route running at an 81 and 72. With Carson Nash, kind of took a deeper dive into him, and I had a real life comparison to Andre Johnson. Played for the Texans. And then we look into North Carolina State. North Carolina State, they come Oh, and I took a dive into their wide receiver, Anthony Stowers. Anthony Stowers on the shorter side at 5'10", 220. But he mixed up with his pretty good speed of 63. His route running, probably one of the best in the league at a 95 and hands at a 77. Um, I took a comparison for him for another pre-CT Antonio Brown, just for his route running ability and the speed that he has in his hands. And then I looked at his running back, Tommy Mumford, once again on the shorter side at 5'9", 181, but he definitely makes it up with the speed. I mean, you can't tackle what you can't see. He's very fast at 82, elusiveness at a 70, and ball security at a 54, which is really good for a running back. I did have a real life comparison for him. It was Darren Sproles, one of my favorite running backs to watch. So for the Conference USA, I believe it is a two-team race with Wyoming and Navy. I do have them pretty close, neck to neck. But with them being in the same division, I do have to pick one. And for the North, I picked Navy. Just with their better quarterback and just a better team overall, I think their depth is a little bit better. And for me, I think whoever comes out of the North will just beat whoever comes out of the South. Out of the South, it will be either North Carolina State or Louisiana Tech. I pretty heavily favorite North Carolina State just because of the two guys I named, Ian, Tommy Mufford, and Anthony Stowers. Two really great players who are going to be difference makers. They do have two other great wide receivers with Kenyon Royster and Adam Foster. Oh, and actually, they do have a fourth man, Marcus Mann. So it'll be fun to see what they can do with that. But I truly think for the playoffs, I think they really have only one chance, which is going to be for the Conference USA to have a team in the playoffs, which is Navy. Just with their great defensive line and wide receiver core, they could do it, but they would just have to get past Army and Wyoming first. Secret, what are your thoughts on the Conference USA?
I do believe this is the best Group of Five conference just because of the amount of teams at the top. Just Navy and Wyoming alone are two of the really great teams in the Group of Five. I do think Wyoming is a little overrated on TR. I don't think they're as good as the TR would suggest. Yeah. I think that their receivers are a little too slow, and their quarterback is just a little bit under that elite level that you need to be when you want to make the playoffs. So for that reason, I'm going to pick Navy. And I'm going to say that they're their only hope. I also agree with that. And just a note, Alex Wilson of North Dakota State cannot place the ball. They're going to need to be very careful when they're throwing it down the field. He has amazing power, and he can chuck it up for his receivers 80 yards down the field. But if he can't place it, defenders are sure to pick him off, and that's going to be a worry for them. They might finish below their expected mark of where they want to be.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I think it's like crazy. Usually see it the vice versa with the vision and accuracy, where the accuracy is there, but the vision is not, especially with them being 5'10". So I think it's kind of where the vision is so high with them being 5'10". But yeah.
Yeah. I think, honestly, this is my theory. He has a pass block of 42. He has 54 pass cover, 33 tackles, 41 hands. He had to be an athlete in high school. There's no way. Yeah. He had to be an athlete. Absolutely had to be an athlete. 52 speed, 37 elusive. Yeah, athlete.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, that's all I had for the Big Ten and the Conference USA. I'm going to give it over to Secret to finish this out.
I'm going to thank Rich for bringing these two conferences and their really in-depth overview of them. That was a great job.
Thank you, sir.
All right. That's going to do it for us today. We're going to move on to the next conference, and we'll sure to have that later. we'll see you guys later, and that's going to be the end. See you guys.